Well, thank you for the opportunity to present in a very short time the results that we collected in a lot of projects that were grouped under the so-called the 5B projects. And these are regional projects extended with the project Escape and Fair is Fair. My name is Jos van Wezel, and I've been chairing this group of people in a so-called task force, a task force that was established a year or three ago, still under the older regime of the EOSC Executive Board. And we try to, these projects that work together in a collaboration agreement, and they try to mimic more or less the working groups at that time, except the national policies and governance that didn't have an equivalent working group, so it stands a little bit outside. However, the products that we produced are very nice, and I think they reflect a lot of the things that have been said here in several meetings already before. And you will see several of these things that come out of that reflected also in the presentations before and later, I guess. So one of the things that I have to make clear is that these results are coming from different projects, meaning that, of course, that there is a difference in focus and a difference in scope and also a difference in approach, meaning that if there is no storyline in there, that's correct. It's a collection of results. However, bringing these people together and getting these people to think about it also led to new initiatives and new ideas for these projects. So that has been very substantial. So there's two things in this overview. Two technical aspects that came out and a bunch of aspects that have to do with legal and policy and more or less the legal side of policies. This is a technical side, the data management plans. People have, of course, this is already known for a long time, but especially the projects that worked on it, and you can see these on the logos below, they found still some improvements that could be done. For instance, that requirements are still not clearly stated on metadata sharing in these data management plans. Although these things are nowadays obligatory for the Horizon Europe program, I'm not sure if this is in there, but there is still room for improvement. One of the things that came up is that also these data management plans, although you can say, well, they have to come, you also have to make sure that there are national services and that services are available for people to draft these things. It's not just something that you do in an afterthought. Another technical aspect is the persistent identifiers. Also there, although it's established and more or less common knowledge in a lot of areas, there is still work to do, and especially because of the new aspects that come with PID for different types. Not only so, there's different types of PIDs that come up now, and that they need to be harmonized. Otherwise, everybody or every domain or every area is developing their own specification of these types. But also, of course, we need to keep out on the fact that there are still new data products or scientific products being produced that need these PIDs in order to make this everything, of course, machine readable and machine actionable. I'm stepping to the next already. Since these slides will be available, you can read it easily afterwards. The aspects of data protection, we're moving into the area of legalese here. Data protection, this is equivalent in the case of Europe for GDPR, of course, is still something that needs to be worked on, and especially in the scientific area. especially because some of the projects mentioned that there are still no standardized exceptions for not sharing data. We know that we want to share data, but there are still a lot of situations where we do not want to share data immediately or in the middle term. And then there are conflicts in national laws with several frameworks. The known frameworks, of course, health and biology and genetics and all these things, where they use pseudonymization and anonymization. But these things need to be congruent on both sides, not only within the different frameworks, but also within the different countries for data sharing to enable data sharing. And one thing that was mentioned, and I found this very striking, is this the organization within institutions, where the responsibility of taking care of data management should be more with the principal investigator than, as it is now in the case of data protection, with a security office or with a security officer. The responsibility, that is to say. It was also found that, of course, the GDPR solved a lot of issues, privacy issues in handling of personal data, but at the same time, it does not address the cross-border needs for sensitive data as it is now. And we've seen that, especially in Germany, where I'm working, also during the COVID pandemic, where different states in Germany were not able to hand out data on to each other. Now, how to indeed harmonize these data protection regulations that, of course, now are installed everywhere is by maybe having a suggestion was to have European-wide codes of conduct, and also by practical how to do guidelines. This is also to prevent, and this is also one of the things that is a red line through these findings, that it is very difficult to have these policies and these law parts actually installed in the research at the researchers, because it's a boring thing. Policy actions and national law. There is still the trouble, of course, that, as was found, that if you do not have a law for it, a policy is nice, but then it is not followed for some part. A national strategy and an open strategy makes much more sense to get people behind something, and instead of this patchwork of all different regulations. And therefore, these open science policies should be part of a national research framework. Well, we heard it before, everybody is behind it, but it's still lacking and it's still not everywhere. So this is stressed by several of the Col 5B projects. For copyright and publications, there is, we heard before, there is a lot of laws there, but in the end, the rules for the scientific sector are not embedded in these laws. That's not recognized as science in there. And at the same time, we need, of course, to also understand the other side. Scientists cannot get away with saying, well, this is, I'm very above my head or far away from my lab. You need to know a little bit of what has to be done there in this sense of law. So the common understanding of law is also essential for at the lab. Now, there are ideas how you can implement this for these people, of course, because no one wants to deal that much with it, but maybe there are technical solutions. I'm coming to the end very quickly now. Thank you. So awareness is, of course, very important to get it done. Awareness is slowly coming. That's true, and I guess that EOSC has helped a lot there. We could, of course, improve improve this notion of laws and notion of policies by creating soft laws, which means that there is a better incentive to adapt these things. And we also need to provide researchers with the right expertise and support at the organizational level to actually enact these policies. Thank you. I'm starting with it.
Thank you.